This is the Average Guy Network, and you have found Home Gadget Geeks show number 362, recorded on July 5th, 2018. Here at Home Gadget Geeks, we cover all the favorite tech gadgets that find their way in your home. News, reviews, product updates, and conversation, all for the average tech guy. I'm your host, Jim Collison, broadcasting live from the Average Guy studios here in a very sweltering. We're talking a little bit about the show. Bellevue, Nebraska. Of course, storm came through last night and really kind of brought the heat down a little bit, kind of makes it tolerable to be outside. We grilled over the fourth weekend here, of course, Independence Day. Here in the United States, man, it was super hot. I did like a 2 p.m. grill, which is about the worst part of the day to do a grill. Burgers, dogs, you know what you do. Some chicken for fourth. And it was super hot. So it's always good to have that cool down. No tech deployed on that one, just grilling. Of course, we post a show with world-class show notes, and we'll have a bunch of links. If you haven't joined us in the Facebook group yet, you might want to do that. Facebook.com/group/theaverageguy. A lot of tonight's show. This is great, though, by the way. A lot of user or listener feedback. Thank you for sending your emails in. I got a bunch of that this week, which is pretty cool. So we'll be covering those. And then, of course, I got some of the posts that you did in the Facebook group. Again, facebook.com/group/theaverageguy. Jump in there. A lot of great content, a lot of good things that land there. So if you're skeptical on Facebook, that's the only group you need to be a part of. But a lot of good information going on out there. So the links to everything we talk about will be in the show notes. Of course, you can join us live on our mobile app. I'm going to thank LastPass for their sponsorship of that app. You can get access to it. Super easy. HomeGadgetGeeks.com. And it's super easy and it's free. So don't forget, when you're in the Apple Podcast app, or now the new Google Podcast app, allegedly that's working. I think I'm in that. Emily can, Emily, you can verify. I think she said I'm out there in the new Google Podcast app. You can subscribe, rate, and review if you want to do it there, although I don't think they have a rate and review yet in the Google Podcast app. You can subscribe on YouTube, hit the notification bell so you get notified when we go live or when we post to the regular channel. And then, of course, if you're on Spreaker, you can follow us out there and you get an email whenever we go live on Spreaker. Yes, Emily, little solo show tonight. Mike forgot to let me know he's out of town. So, I don't know, 25 minutes before the show, I said, hey, all ready to go? And he was like, actually, I'm out of town. I'm like, okay, well, not a big deal. We've got some material. Actually, a lot of the material we have tonight came from you. And so we'll spend some time working through that material. Appreciate your emails. A great way to communicate with me. I love to get your emails, love to communicate that way. This week, maybe a record number, and I grabbed a few of those out of there to share as part of the show. And so most of tonight will be what we get via email, and then a few comments on some of the Facebook posts, and then whatever you guys give me in the chat room. So we'll spend a little time going solo. Maybe not the longest show in the world, but I'm going to be out next week. My oldest son is getting married, and my mom is coming to town. You can't podcast the night your mom is in town. Like, you just can't do it. She's going to be like, no, what are you doing? She's not going to understand. So no podcast last week, or this week actually. And appreciate you guys giving me the week off. All right, let's kind of dig in a little bit. When we think about the communications, you guys, the email will go into we'll bring into the email bag. Yeah, Emily says in the chat room, bring her on. No, my mom can barely hear. She would be like, what? Every time I'd say something, what? And I called her on the phone the other day. Man, it was just brutal. So she didn't have her hearing aids in. And Emily, what kind of questions? Emily says I have some questions for her. Well, you can put those in the chat room. Maybe I'll ask her while she's here. She doesn't quite get what I do here on podcasting. It's kind of funny. She's almost 90. She's awesome, but maybe not so much on the podcast stuff. She's like, what do you do there? I don't get that. But anyways, all right. Well, some emails coming in this week. Kwesi sent me a note. He said, hey, Jim, sorry I missed the live show of 361, but watched a few hours later. Enjoyed the conversation on what you're comfortable fixing on things in the house. I, too, got to go to YouTube for those issues. Love to work on the computers. He says, I love to work on the computer, smartphones, tablets. Had an iPad mini where the screen broke. In combination with YouTube and Google to find the parts, it was painful but a cheap fix. Painful because you have to get through all the adhesive. That's right. You got to kind of warm those things up. Surface is not too different from that. It's hard to get into a Microsoft Surface. A lot of that is heat activated adhesion, and you got to work really hard. You got to heat them up and kind of jerry rig them until they come apart. It is kind of messy. So yeah, the adhesion, the glue they use could be pretty painful. And then getting it back together is a whole nother issue. But he says, I recently bought an older MacBook as a backup and installed a new battery, upgraded RAM, put in an internal SSD, all thanks to YouTube. Yeah, no, for sure. You can do a lot of that stuff. And I'm always surprised at just how generous people are with their time on YouTube. It's just amazing all the work they go in to put that in. So he says his next project will be upgrading the iMac with an internal SSD. Always a good, if you got a PC and you're looking at doing an upgrade, probably besides RAM, SSD is just one of those easy ones that if you can back it up and put it in and get your OS running on it, it's great to do. He says, I just have to make sure I don't fall down the YouTube rabbit hole and watch unrelated content. Well, I'm the king of that. I watch a ton. So it's easy to do for sure. He says, thanks for all you do and keep up the great work. So crazy. Appreciate your email in here. Neil sent me a note. He said, nice show today. I too find YouTube a great source of Fixit wisdom. He says, I, for one, hate working on engines. I don't disagree with engines. And anything I have to crawl under or get upside down to work on. I always seems like I'm always trying to work on those things last minute or in the heat of the day, and I'm just dripping sweat all over myself. That's one of the things I hate for that. He says, unfortunately, our hill mower seems to demand a lot of his attention, and a mower like a helicopter is one of those it can be one of those tools that often doesn't work very well. It's always nasty and dirty, it's kind of its job. So he says, thanks for the show and your diverse view on the world. And Neil, thanks for your email. Always good to hear from you. I hear from Neil frequently, and I appreciate the feedback we get. Been getting a lot of feedback actually on the show, kind of the content of it, the variety on it. A lot of you like it, and so no plans of changing it. We'll keep going with the variety. You guys like it, and so there's no reason to kind of change it. All right. We also heard this week. I heard from Bill. Bill said, Jim, I never really write to podcasts I listen to when I have the thoughts. However, a few things have come to my mind, and I actually have some free time. First, I've really been enjoying the new format. So, Bill, appreciate that. It's more along the lines of what I always hoped the show would be. Well, it's good to hear that we're going in that direction. I hope that you will continue to get good ideas from the audience and carry it forward. Yeah, me too. And of course, we can't do it if you guys aren't communicating with us. So I appreciate that. He continues, the main reason I wanted to write, it was in response to your discussion at the end of last week's show. You and Mike were discussing engaging young folks in coding/technology. The discussion turned to transportation. You floated the idea of Uber. I wanted to let you know about a Uber feature called Uber Events. And I never heard of this before. He goes on to say, I've never seen an advertisement for it. However, I've used it a few times for work events. Where I want to ensure my staff has safe transportation. It allows you to set up a window of time, the credit available with a limit on the ride cost. You can enter a list of people and it will send out unique codes, or you can have it generate one code. I also let you set up a limit for the entire event. I think this is an outstanding service. I wish more people knew about it. And then he sent me the link, uber.com/events. Bill says, thanks for the great show. Keep up the great work. Bill, thanks for that. So Uber Events, I need to look into this. The discussion was because we work with high school students in the near north side, and they don't have any transportation here in Omaha to really get where they need to be. We were talking about using the bus. There was a bunch of students who take the bus on a regular basis to do this summer program. I couldn't believe it. I was really shocked because I didn't think the bus would work. But I'd rather have Uber. Especially because the rides wouldn't be that expensive, and maybe an option to get students here a little bit cheaper than a $30 bus pass. I'll have to look into that per person. I think that's what our bus passes are. Maybe I can get some deals on those, or just, I don't know, find a way. It would literally cost him maybe $2 a month to make it into Gallup a couple times. Maybe not that, maybe a little bit more than that. So, yeah. So Uber events. Thanks for bringing that up, Bill. I'm actually going to look into that. We are going to start our interns. So the next wave of high school interns will start here at the end of September. That'll be here before you know it. It'll be fall. We'll be complaining about the cold weather coming, and we'll give it a shot. See how it goes. Uber.com/events. I don't know. What do you think? This sounds like a great service just for anybody. If you wanted to get people from one place to another, kind of control the cost, see how it goes. We'll give it a try. I had mentioned in the beginning of the show that Emily wanted to ask some questions from my mom. And so here Emily says, questions for Jim's mom. Was Jim always a gadget geek? Yeah, Emily, I had a computer even back in the 80s, TRS-80. No, that's not what I had. I had a Timex Sinclair 1000. That's what I had. So yeah, I love the gadgets. I never had enough money for them. That was the problem. So, and I wonder, Emily also asked, what was his favorite gadgety toy as a kid? I don't know. That's a good question. Probably that computer. I loved playing computer games when I was there, which is interesting because I don't anymore. You know, I don't play very many games. Watch a lot of YouTube videos though. Did he take things apart in the house just to see how they'd work? So I got this bike brand new for my parents. And I don't know, maybe had it 3 months, and I got this wild hair to just take it all apart. And then I couldn't get it back together. And I was such in a panic. I felt so bad that I had pulled this thing all the way apart. I was super interested in how things worked. We just pulled it apart, brand new bike. And I just took the whole thing apart because I wanted to see how it worked. That bike was purple, by the way. That bike would become the source of a nickname. So the bike was purple. You guys remember the character from McDonald's, the purple thing, whatever he is, the purple blob that they call Grimace, right? So my neighborhood friends started calling me Grimace, and that got shortened to Grim when I was in high school. So I got called Grim, which is Grim, Jim, kind of works out, right? So Mark says his first, or what he messed around with, a VIC-20, Commodore 64, Atari. Yeah, all my friends had those. I just didn't have the money for those. It was too, yeah, we just in those. I should have, I was working. I don't know. I didn't prioritize my gadget purchasing. Right. Should have done more. Lopta says games on the TS-1000 were pretty limited. Yeah, they were. They were not. I think that was a what was that? A TZ? No, a Z81. I think is what that was called in the UK. Something like that. That Timex Sinclair 1000. So it was pretty revolutionary when it came out. There was not a lot in it though. So Emily, great questions. I'll ask my mom that. See if she has any recollection to ZX. Yeah. See if she has any recollections of those questions. Thanks for sending them in. Lop just says that Timex Sinclair 1000. It's a ZX81. And then Mark Robson says first MIDI music I ever heard took 5 minutes to load a song, but wow. Yeah, now some good times. All right. Hey, we want to thank you for your emails that you send in. You can send them to jim@theaverageguy.tv. A great way to get those into me. And I appreciate the feedback that you give, but Bill, that Uber feedback may be the best I've got so far. So I appreciate it. A couple things from the Facebook group. Well, one was Weaker found this actually. He actually found a post out there. Let me see if I can find it on my screen. Now I'm getting a bunch of people trying to communicate with me on Facebook. So it's a YouTube video. It says home security reaches new heights with drones. So someone stole my idea, although I didn't really think it was just my idea. But remember we've been talking about the ability when home sensors sense something's going on, it launches a drone. And the drone goes up and starts, taking footage and alerting you that something's going on. These sensors look like little lights in the link will be in the show notes if you want to go out there and take a peek at it. But these the sensors around the neighborhood or around your yard look like little lights, and they're supposed to tell the difference between you and the dog and an intruder. I don't know how that works. Maybe AI and machine learning. If you really want to know what AI and machine learning is, we did Cyber Frontiers, the newest episode of Cyber Frontiers, which, by the way, will we do one next week? Let me think. This is the 4th. Yeah, maybe. Maybe. I'll have to look it up again. I think so. Next Monday, if you watch Twitter, and you'll see if we're going to do Cyber Frontiers. But shoots the drone up in the air. Now, there's some concerns. Like the neighbors are like, hey, when this thing in the air, is it shooting, pictures of everything? And so there was a little concern around that. But no, apparently not. It's allegedly this drone, you do some things where you set it up or it just stays trained on your house. But it's that exact same thing that I've been talking about. Like, the drone sits in a box, and when it senses something, the lid comes open and the drone shoots out of it and starts filming what's going on around there. I think that's pretty cool. So, Mike, thanks for sharing that with us. It's a pretty cool little drone and a pretty good little idea. This Bay Area company's doing this. Let me see if I can get some information. The information's in the email. Is in the YouTube video. So head out to theaverageguy.tv, find in the show notes. This is HGG362, and you can see where someone stole my idea and put it up. I didn't think it was going to be that long before it got done. So that link will be in the show notes if you want to go watch that video. Chris had also dropped one in the Facebook group. He says, has anyone seen this product? It seems pretty neat, but not quite there yet when it comes to integrating with digital assistants. So it's a company called DakBoard, DakBoard. If you go to DakBoard, DakBoard.com, you can kind of see they have this $99 device, plugs into a big screen. You can buy the TV from them if you want, but in most cases, the device itself is $100. And you plug it in and it creates a big old basically tablet for you, right? So you've got weather and time. It can integrate with your schedule. It'll show, it's got some really beautiful pictures on it that'll show kind of an update, give you some updated news and information on it. And first I had seen, it'll run on a laptop, it'll run on a tablet. You can use a Raspberry Pi. You can use you can buy their CPU. And I think what they make their money on, they sell a little bit of hardware, but is in the services of it. So you can get a free account. That includes, so you can try this if you want. If you got the equipment. In fact, maybe I should try it on this PC that's right here. This one that's right over my right shoulder. So if you're listening to the audio, you don't see it, but I always have a PC on right there. Actually, it's touchscreen. Maybe I'll do that after the show. That'd have been a good idea. For free, I can set up one screen, get a free account from them, and there's a bunch of things that I can do with it, make it available there with some of their services. They have a premium $5 a month, professional $50 a month, and an enterprise plan that lets you put it on up to 100 screens. If you wanted to coordinate those all around your building or get that set up in a certain way. So Chris is kind of wondering, is this ready for prime time? Is it is this thing ready? So Chris, I didn't even think about it till right now. Like I've got that's sitting on right now. That's a Kangaroo. One of those Kangaroo PCs runs this touchscreen right here. I really just use it as a display behind me, but that'd be a perfect kind of test case for this DakBoard. So maybe I'll set that up right after the show. DakBoard. Give it a look. Apparently, though, it's still not quite digital assistant friendly. So maybe some work to do to get that done. I think this is the space that Amazon is trying to be in, right? They've got some of these assistants with a screen. And so I think they're trying to do it as well. Chris, I'd never seen this before, this DakBoard. So I'm probably not pronouncing it right, but you can give it a look. Let me know what you think. Drop it in the Facebook group. You can just add it on to Chris's post that is there. Is that something, I've always wanted some kind of digital interface that would actually work. And I've been trying a few things. I've just never really got it to work. It reminds me of kind of the NVIDIA Shield in some ways, right? That's running a version of Android. The update, I just got the update on the NVIDIA Shield, and you can, just talk into the remote, or it's got the digital, it's got the, OK Google digital assistant in it. And you can use that for search what's on the, on the Shield, some of those kinds of things. So it kind of reminds me of that interface has Chromecast built into it, the NVIDIA Shield. So you could, it's more of a media device than it is an assistant. So this is maybe where those are a little bit different. Justin Simmons in Facebook says, I don't have the product as in the physical. I do have a subscription to their software though, and I'd have to concur with the analysis. It's not quite ready yet. There are a few things that need to be worked on or otherwise reworked. He says, what I'm thinking of here is specifically the calendar usage. The views for those who have multiple calendars does not work so well. If you have, or if you are wanting to show calendars for multiple people, a column view would work much better than what they have now. It's always hard to get that calendar view. It's especially hard to get these things working for multiple people. That's a real common problem across the board. He also says there needs a bit of functionality, family reminder function. That's not simply to state what's happening that day. He says the final thing is it really needs to be on a touch screen and touch responsive. So that way, when something has to be done, say put out the bins, you can simply walk up to the touch item on the list, mark it as done. I did not know what they're working on, but recently added one of the other major things I wanted, multiple screens per account. So now in theory, I could customize one for each person of the bedroom, a generic in the bathroom, or something not played to much, just poked and prodded a little. So Justin gave that a try. And Ernesto said, I set up a free account and have been playing with it on the website. Lets you view the dashboard there. I have to say it's pretty nice. I was able to add a few calendars under the free and set up my Flickr for the photos. I can easily just see this thing hanging on home for my wall for everyone to see. I have not been a big calendar guy this way. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's my personality or what, but I have just not been as inclined to have digital calendars. We've tried it. We put the kangaroo in the kitchen. I tried family calendars. I tried displaying them there. I don't know. Just didn't work real well for me. So, maybe for you, maybe that works. I don't know. Maybe my life's just not busy enough that I need a calendar like that, kind of out in the open. So, Chris, thanks for throwing that in there. DakBoard, thanks for doing that. Appreciate it. Maybe, like I said, maybe I'll give it a try. Kind of right here. John Biggs had posted a recipe for some bacon wrapped jalapeno stuff that's delicious. We won't go into that, but it gave me an idea. Do I need to start a separate like Home Grilling Geeks? Is that what needs to be happening on this thing? It'd be HGG, So does it? Do we need Home Grilling Geeks? I don't know. Somebody go out there and look on Hover or wherever and see if it's available. I don't know. It would be interesting to see one, if it is available. If Mike was here, I'd ask him a question, then I'd go find it. But we've been talking so much about food. I really actually won't talk that much more about it here tonight, but we've been talking so much about food. It seems that a lot of geeks like food. By the way, the grilling, Emily says, does that mean another night live? And if so, then yes. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I could do another live night, Emily. But it seems to be that geeks and food go pretty well together. And I've gotten a lot of feedback from you. And actually the most engagement. Okay. Well, and Emily says it's available. I've gotten the most engagement from food, the food shows, which is crazy. We have the podcast listed over at Mixcloud or one of those services. And the last barbecue show with very, very little, almost none, no advertising on that platform. Did 300 or 400, and I typically get 10. So, boy, the grilling sure seems to be popular. Home Grilling Geeks. Maybe after the show, I'll go buy it and at least have it. I would go homegrillingeeks.com for that one, not TV. I did the averageguy.tv because I couldn't get the averageguy.com. That would have been my initial when TV was available. And Leo Laporte had done twit.tv. I thought, well, let's jump on that bandwagon. Maybe that's the way it'll go. It never did. Didn't go that way. Most TV, it just didn't. I thought for podcasting that'd be a trend, and it wasn't a trend at all. So no luck on that one. Mark also put in the Facebook group. He got himself a new microphone. So a Fifine K669 USB wired microphone, condenser version of it, and spent $30 on it. So Mark will be on here later bit. What is that? a little bit later in the fall and give us an opportunity to see how that thing sounds on the podcast. USB. Here, I'll throw the link to it in the chat room too. Here, if you're listening live, and let Mark. We'll see how well it works for $30. Not a bad deal. And GearBest. It's over at GearBest and GearBest.com. No affiliate link over there, but Emily says HomeGrillingGeeks.sucks is available for $329. So there's that. Yeah, no, I probably won't buy that. Mark also says he picked up the arm for it too. So good, Mark. Well, it's a condenser mic, so you want to get it right up on it. Be close to it because it'll also pick up a lot of noise around you. So we'll have to kind of watch for that when you come on the show. We will do a grilling show here in the fall. We'll get Mike and Mark back on. We'll get Mike Uyghur, Mike Howard, Mark Robson back on the show. And we'll talk about our grill falling. Mark, I told Sarah, I've got this old grill that I've had since like 94. And for the first time, I've loved grilling on that thing. And I don't know why, but for the first time, I've been thinking about a bigger grill. So maybe it's you that maybe looking at all those Traegers has convinced me it's time to get maybe it's time to get a bigger, more tech savvy. I feel like I'm driving a Ford Pinto, just to be honest with you, with the little Sunbeam. But man, I cook the crap out of that thing. So it'll be I don't know. Maybe not this. Maybe this year. Sarah actually gave me permission to buy a new one. She was just like, just go buy a new one. We're having a wedding and family coming in, so maybe now is not the time. But maybe I'll look in the fall for some deals as the local guys are getting rid of them. And maybe so. One last thing, if you're into the storage, Western Digital has updated their My Book Duo. If you haven't been following those, I found that pretty amazing. Let me throw this link that will be in the show notes for you. Let me throw that in the chat room. Those guys, when we think about backup, not everybody wants to build a big old home server. I'm always surprised Western Digital is still in this space. Like, apparently there must be enough there. Enough people are buying these things. This is a 2 drive. I shouldn't say little. 2-drive book does a little RAID on them, and it kind of does it all for you. You don't even have to think about it. It supports most of the RAID modes that are out there. It's got a USB-C port with all the cables included, so it plugs into just about anything. Supports USB 3.1, Gen 1, 3.0, 2.0. It's got 2 USB 3 Type A hubs available for it. If you want to go on, it's pretty good. It starts with a RAID 0. You can put a RAID 1 on it. It cracked me up though. The 20 terabyte version of it is $800. So, you think, well, okay, 20 terabytes. It's still pretty good. Those 210 drives in there. It comes out of the box RAID 0. And other Jim says, buy it now. It'll never be patched. I think that's been kind of the story of Western Digital. I'm just not sure they're getting back to their devices. Good looking device and pretty good size and lots of functionality on it. That 20 terabyte is $800, but the 4 terabyte starts at $259. I've been buying the 8 terabyte drives for $150. So throw 2 of those together, and you kind of start thinking, 4 terabytes. Although you get a backbone on this thing, something that's got some hardware on it. So it would be a cheap NAS without any of the NAS stuff. I don't know. You could QNAP a 2-drive QNAP. Probably comes at this. Of course, the drives and the storage is included. So if you need backup and you don't want to mess with it, maybe not too bad of an option. I don't know. We talk a little bit about home server, home storage stuff. I have never messed with one of these desktop RAID configurations from Western Digital. Wouldn't mind having it. I guess I'd give it a try. But I don't know. What do you think? What are you using? Actually, this would be a good email question this week. What are you using? It'll take us 2 weeks to get back to you, but what are you using for home storage? How much do you got? How full is it? Like, how big is it? How full is it? And then what is it? How many drives? What are you putting together? This week, I was hanging out with Ken online. I've been spending a lot of time with Ken working on Burst. He actually got me thinking about, so I have this HP N40L that, but it's old. I really wasn't doing anything with it. And he was like, well, maybe we could throw some burst drives, throw some additional hard drives in it and do some burst mining on it. He actually taught me how to do burst with 2 miners, and I've set up 2 more, so I have 4 at this point. But so we got the N40 running on that. I threw some drives in. It was kind of fun to kind of work with those drives. Actually, I pulled 3 terabyte drives out of the Drobo and replaced them with smaller drives. That worked for me, and redeployed those 3 terabyte drives into some other machines so I could take use of the 9 terabytes there. But what are you doing? What do you have? Send it to me in an email so I can get it in the show notes. Jim@theaverageguy.tv. What do you have? What's your backbone? How many drives? How big are they? And how full is it? Like, maybe give me some idea of what you're using it for. I'd love to hear about that when we think about home backup and home storage. It's been a while since we've done that. When I come back from the break, we'll spend a little time talking about storage and backup. Send that to me, Jim@theaverageguy.tv. All right. That's all I got. Quick show tonight, maybe 35 minutes or so. Appreciate you guys coming into the chat room. Without Mike, short stuff. I don't know. Been a little interesting. I'm probably super boring without Mike. Who knows? My voice isn't doing real well. So, and we got my son, Tim. We talked about this before. He's a Marine. He's in California. He's here. So it's probably good I cut this off a little bit early tonight and go hang out with him. I'll do a short little bit of crypto here at the very end to give an update. Ken, like I mentioned, Ken's been doing a ton of work with me, and I want to give him some props. And so stay around for a little bit of, we'll spend the next 15 minutes talking crypto. That I'll throw into a little post show, make that available as well. Don't forget, if you want to listen to that, I've got a bunch of them are out on our Patreon link. So if you go to theaverageguy.tv/Patreon, that'll get you there. There's a Patreon link right there on the page. They're all available for free. I shouldn't say all of them. Some of the most recent ones are available for free, so you can go out and listen to them. Big thanks this week. One of our listeners. Let me quick pull up his name while I got the time. Bill, you know who you are. Appreciate it. Actually, Bill sent in the feedback from earlier today. Bill, Andy, Amar, Tim. You guys all have jumped on. John, you guys have all jumped on recently to Patreon. So appreciate you guys doing that. Theaverageguy.tv/Patreon. Get you on there as well. I mentioned the email. Send me an email, Jim@theaverageguy.tv. Track me down on Twitter @Jay Collison. Don't forget theaverageguy.tv, both web and media hosting, hosted by Maple Grove Partners. Get secure, reliable, high-speed hosting from people that you know and you trust, and super rock solid. Plans start as little as $10 a month. Maple Grove everybody should be using this. MapleGrovePartners.com. And then don't forget our app, Android, iPhone, available on both, totally free. In fact, I'll reach out to LastPass to see if they want to sponsor for another year. You never know. I always keep thinking they won't, but you never know. Maybe they'll come back for one more year. We thank LastPass for their sponsorship of that app as well. All right, we'll be back in 2 weeks. And we will, 2 weeks, taking the week off next week, back in 2 weeks with Uyghur. We'll have some more for you. In the meantime, load us up in the Facebook group, Facebook.com/groups/theaverage.groups/theaverage guy. There we go. And then, or send me an email, Jim@theaverageguy.tv. Load us up. We'll have a whole show, just your feedback, your ideas, your questions. Bill, again, thanks for that Uber. That's going to be a big deal, I think. That may answer a ton of questions for me. So that kind of stuff is super helpful. By the way, I got a note from somebody this week. They're going to try out HelloFresh. We just got our HelloFresh order on Tuesday. Put it in the fridge. Cooked one tonight. Breaded chicken. It was super awesome. My kids made it, which is the awesome part about HelloFresh. My daughter, 19. My son, 21. They made dinner tonight. I said, hey, guys. Oh, I didn't tell you guys early on. I had this huge networking problem about midnight last night. Whole network went down again. I told you guys I got a new switch, big new switch. Couldn't figure out. In fact, I still don't really know what's wrong. I think I had a big IP conflict. I had 20 new devices in the house this weekend as everybody came over with 2 or 3 devices, right? Phones, tablets, new computers. We had all kinds of gadgets here. yesterday, and about 12:30 went down. I was asleep. Ken sent me a note. Hey, you're offline. I didn't get it until the morning. So, so this morning about 7, I'm trying to troubleshoot. I could not get that thing working. I just couldn't. I could not get the network up. It must be an IP conflict somewhere. I've gone back in. So a couple things. So I let it go all day, which is kind of a bummer, especially with burst mining. I lost 8 hours of burst mining, but it's all right. A couple things I did. I got home. I labeled. Yeah, Loftus says, have you ever considered setting fire to your Ethernet switch? No, this is a brand new one. I don't think it's actually, I don't think it was the old switches either. I think it was me. I don't know. I've got a bunch of equipment out in the living room on another switch out there. And I think I was getting some IP conflicts. But so a couple things learned in that. One, I labeled everything. What I didn't, I had cables, I got wires come in. I have no idea what they go to. So I spent a bunch of time labeling the connections. I shouldn't say bunch, probably half an hour. Got that done. 2, I set a manual IP for everything. And I used to do that. And I know some of you do that as well. You got a spreadsheet, right? And in it is, 1 to 255. And you've got all your devices labeled and you've set them all manual so that they don't move around, right? And conflict. So there's that, right? So I spent a bunch of time getting everything in a spreadsheet so I know where everything kind of is at. And then I put them all, I create static addresses for them. So we'll see if that works. I'm up and running. I got good bandwidth tonight. Everything seems to be up and running. I really do think it is my issue here. I've been sloppy about my networking. I've just been super sloppy. Not just kind of plugging stuff in. Woohoo, unplugging, plugging. Even when I was troubleshooting this thing this morning, of course, it never happens at a convenient time. My wife she was watching a webcast today here at the house, and she's like, am I going to be able to watch that? Well, what was interesting is I know it wasn't the Bitdefender box because Wi-Fi still worked. So it had to be my networking down here. So unplugged to get to it. I just unplugged everything. And as I was rewiring one at a time, label, plug it back in, check it, lock it in, call it good. Well, so far so good. No issues on that. That's really the first time it's dropped me hard like that, where I couldn't get anything working. I got home, the kids had jumped on the Wi-Fi with their laptop, put the TV on the laptop, and we're watching movies that way. So they got it done. So I'm hoping at this point, what I really liked, actually, when I got that new TP link, it made the Zycells a little, if I'm pronouncing that right, it made those, I can move those out to the fringe now, get a few more ports out on the edge. So that actually worked out really pretty well for me. So that's pretty cool. Tony says in the chat room, see, I've upgraded about 5 terabytes uploaded since I got fiber recently. Never could have done that with Spectrum. Yeah, moving. Tony, I took a month of unlimited and I moved almost 3.5 terabytes of backup data up into the cloud. I couldn't believe I used that much data. So, yeah. So it was kind of I learned some stuff. Hopefully I got my network figured out at this point. Kind of weird that it like worked all day. It's been working great since I put the new switch in. Been working great. I don't think it's a switch. 12:30. Everybody's in bed. Like we haven't been on everybody went to bed. I went to bed at 11. So nobody's even on. Just down it went. I could not get it back up, but took it apart this afternoon. Got it figured out. So pretty good. Okay, well, I was going to tell you that in the beginning of the show, and I totally forgot. We're live 8 p.m. Central, 9 Eastern out here at the Average Guy.tv live. Spent a few minutes doing crypto. Thanks for coming out tonight, guys. Sorry about not having Mike with me. A little solo show. Hope that's okay. Get you updated on some stuff. I just didn't want you to go 2 weeks without a show. Thanks for coming out. If you're joining us live, stay around for a little post show. With that, we'll say goodbye, everybody.